If you're a frequent PNW Haunts and Homicides listener, you probably already know we're Birdie ambassadors.
We wanted to take a quick moment to tell you a little bit more about this awesome product.
Birdie is the modern personal safety alarm made for women by women.
In a situation where you feel threatened or unsafe, you can simply activate Birdie's loud siren and flashing light to create a diversion.
Birdie is perfect to carry anytime because the device is lightweight and comes in a variety of colors.
So important. Use our ambassador link and coupon code PNW Haunts and Homicides to receive 10% off your purchase. Like our social media handles, the coupon code is all spelled out, no special characters.
You can find the link and promo code in our show notes or PNW Haunts and Homicides link tree.
Have a safe-ass day! As indie podcasters, we love to show our support of other awesome shows, so stay tuned for the promo we've got to share with you this week.
Let's show them some love. You can find their info in our show notes.
Hello, Twisted Humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you.
In 1952, there was a record high of UFOs reported. 1,500 sightings.
There has been evidence of human sacrifice, devil worship, and it is haunted by more spirits than can be counted.
A family of 2 adults and 2 kids reportedly saw a giant flying thing with glowing red eyes.
And meanwhile, the family's nanny that helped Veronica to care for her and Lucian's children was found bludgeoned to death in the basement of their family home. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked.
You guys, we're back!
And don't worry, we did get more wine.
Well, of course.
Y'all ready? Yeah. Let's do it.
All right. Hi, Cassie.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hi, creepy people.
Hi, creepy people. We can hear them this time. It's so weird.
I know. Usually.
Yeah.
This is PNW Haunts and Homicides.
It is. We're on Apple.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're so not ready.
I'm so ready.
Have you ever met someone that you just knew their ultimate goal was to be famous? I think we all have, for better or worse. Our story is about one such individual. Though his dream may have been to make headlines for his NFL career, this would become a footnote in his story, and it would be over before it even began. He shocked the Pacific Northwest with a series of robberies he commit all along the I-5 corridor whilst wearing a Band-Aid on his nose.
That totally reminds me of What We Do in the Shadows when Laszlo puts a toothpick in his mouth and all of a sudden he's Jackie Daytona. Have you guys seen that? No? Watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's hilarious.
Yeah. This method of disguise having been taken from a previous early accomplice. See, a good idea. Eventually, he'd be known as one of the most prolific sexual criminals in Oregon history. It seems it's rare to find a criminal so erratic and opportunistic. At one time, dubbed the I-5 Bandit, his moniker would transition to that of the I-5 Killer, as his violence escalated seemingly with as little rhyme or reason as his early crimes. At the time of his very public arrest, he refused his infamous hooded leather jacket, part of his robbery getup in many descriptions. he approached his initial booking with law enforcement, choosing instead to face the press head-on, with a smile that appeared genuine, perhaps even collegiate. Fitting for the man who would be gifted multiple personas by the media throughout their coverage of his crimes. We'll start this case with some background for the highlight reel, if you will. For many of you, it may hardly be a secret who we're going to talk about today. They put it up on the website. I didn't know that was going to happen. It's probably not a surprise for anyone. He was an unusual criminal offender, particularly because while the requested sexual act may have largely been the same each time, he was indiscriminate in the choosing of his victims. He did commit some acts that nearly everyone in this room would surely categorize as real gross and also pedophilic. Yeah. Moving on, before we all lose whatever appetite we have in preparation for lunch shortly, Randall Woodfield was born December 26th of 1950 in Salem, Oregon, to a well-respected family that was seemingly happy and well-adjusted. There were no signs of abuse, religious extremism, head injuries, or the other typical, I'll grow up to be a serial killer type of red flags. His mother was a stay-at-home mom, and dad was an exec at P&W Bell Telephone Company. He was the youngest of 3 children and had 2 sisters, and he seemed to have all of the makings of a charmed life.
I mean, he's on this pod, though, so he done fucked up somewhere.
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry.
Raised in Otter Rock, Oregon, a short distance from Newport, by junior high, at age 11, he developed a habit of exposing himself in public. Stumbled over that, like, ew, I almost forgot.
Oh my gosh.
Which was unfortunately not just a phase that he grew out of.
Ugh, all of my awe at this super cute coastal town name is just shattered.
Now, I'm not a psychologist, obviously, and certainly not any type of qualified expert in childhood development, but I'm unfamiliar with any such phase. In high school, he was arrested for indecent, very indecent exposure on a local bridge. But his football coaches did what they could to cover it up, avoiding kicking him off the team, because sports ain't gonna sport. And I guess boys will be boys.
Boo.
Gross. His parents, to their credit, whatever it's worth, did want him to be accountable in at least a small way, and they made him go to therapy.
Well, that's something, I guess.
Despite thriving post-high school graduation at Treasure Valley Community College in Ontario, Oregon, records indicate that Woodfield was arrested on several occasions for petty crimes. First in 1970 for vandalizing the apartment of his ex-girlfriend. Rude.
Yikes.
However, it should be noted that at this stage in his life, because his juvenile record was expunged, he was starting fresh, essentially with a completely clean slate. Also in 1970, he transfers to Portland State University and enters the physical education degree program.
Oh, no. I went there? No.
No. Yeah. He's ruining a lot of things for us. Yeah. While at PSU, he ran track, played basketball, and also football as a wide receiver for the Vikings. He was very active in campus Christian life, including with the youth group Campus Crusade for Christ.
Seems like that worked out really well for him.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
And he lived in an apartment in the South Park blocks. One of his coaches during this time described him as being nice, gentlemanly, quiet, polite, and coachable. An anonymous teammate said of Randy, Randy was strange. Looking back, stranger than we thought at the time.
Well, yeah.
No shit.
Hindsight.
While one of the Bible study group participants said he played on the God Squad, due to the double life he was leading, his attendance got pretty sketchy at a certain point.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
He's busy doing other things.
Yeah. Had a lot on his plate. He was arrested in 1972 for public indecency in Vancouver, Washington. Then again, in 1973, he was arrested for public indecency in Multnomah County. Just doing a little tour. Woodfield chose to drop out of college 3 semesters shy of graduating with his Bachelor's of Science in Physical Education, because it seemed like his lifelong dream was finally coming true. He was selected as a wide receiver in the 1974 NFL Draft by the Green Bay Packers in the 17th round as the 428th pick.
I have no idea what that means.
Right. The only sports fact I know. Woodfield signed a contract in February of that year with the Packers, but it turns out even his dream job couldn't keep him from his deviant hobby. He was formally cut by the Packers during training camp, failing to make the team's final roster.
Aww.
Yeah. It may have had a little something to do with, the dozen flashing incidents calling attention to him in the short time while he was onboarding. It was a pretty devastating blow, but he wasn't prepared to pack it in just yet.
I knew you'd sneak in a dad joke.
I know, it was cheap, I know. Though he had been cut by the Packers from their team and his dreams of NFL stardom, Woodfield played the 1974 season with the semi-pro Manitowoc Chiefs and worked for Oshkosh Truck. Does Manitowoc sound familiar to anybody? I know not to you.
I don't know.
It's that same podunk and otherwise unremarkable spot on the map made famous by the Netflix documentary Making a Murderer.
Oh, okay.
Now it sounds familiar.
Anybody seen
Sure.
that one? Yeah.
Woodfield left Wisconsin in late 1974 and returned to Portland, disgraced by his failure to maintain his football career, because the Chiefs would also go on to cut him from their team.
Usually I'd feel bad for him, but I'm guessing you're going to tell me a lot of things that's just going to make me hate him even more.
Yeah, that's the plan.
Okay.
Then, oddly, upon his return to Portland in early 1975, a spate of attacks that involved both robbery and sexual assaults started to occur in a local park. Not that anyone would initially link them to Randy, because of course not. You guys, people who play professional sports are not criminals.
Right. Never.
No.
No.
Several Portland women were accosted by a knife-wielding man, forced to perform oral sex, and then robbed of their handbags and/or cash. Law enforcement responded to the string of crimes by having female police officers act as decoys.
Okay.
Someone actually signed up for that.
Oh.
Which sounded dicey as hell, honestly, because technology and the know-how of 1970s detectives, historically not always super awesome.
Yeah.
But it did work out.
Okay.
An undercover female officer was able to foil his duplicitous deeds when acting as a decoy, leading to his arrest on March 3rd of 1975 after Woodfield was caught with marked money he had taken from her.
Oh my God. So I'm hoping all he got was her money since she was undercover?
Hopefully. Yeah. I didn't come across any source that actually stated he assaulted her, other than physically. He did accost her, but he confessed to the crimes when interrogated, though not without trying to shift the blame elsewhere, stating that he had poor sexual impulse control. No shit, Randall.
Clearly.
Interestingly, he claimed it was the result of his use of steroids.
So he really wasn't good at football. Okay, got it.
And it's a side effect I'm very unfamiliar with. I have follow-up questions.
Right.
He didn't just get let off with a warning or probation this time, though. Maybe that was because he had more than just a knife at the time of his arrest. But that's basically just speculation on my part. At any rate, he had a gun in his possession, a very uncommon .32 caliber Italian pistol. About a month later, in April 1975, he pled guilty to reduced charges of second-degree robbery and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. After serving just 4, though, he was granted parole in July of 1979. Following his release, the spree up and down I-5 begins with fervor. I know, aren't you so excited?
Yeah,
Yay.
so excited.
On October 9th of 1980, he claimed his first known murder victim, Sherry Lynn Ayers, age 29.
Oh, that is so sad. Also, October 9th is tomorrow.
Okay. No, thank you. She was a former classmate of Woodfield's. In fact, they reconnected through the high school reunion that he had helped to plan because he's such a nice guy. Mm-hmm. By all accounts, he was respectful of the fact that she was engaged and their relationship remained platonic. Her fiancé discovered her body in her Portland home on October 11th. Ooh, we need some water here.
Yeah, it's hard to get through this stuff sometimes.
Well, I'm looking at it like, oof. She was bludgeoned and stabbed multiple times in the neck. Her mother pointed to Randy as her daughter's potential murderer. This was long before he was linked to the rampant robberies occurring. But in hindsight, it would mark the beginning of a truly wild crime spree.
This is why you should always trust your gut. She was right.
Yeah. Detectives would eventually be inspired to refer to I-5 as the highway to hell.
Okay, I'm not going to sing it. It would be highly inappropriate.
Yeah.
But I really, really want to.
Keep it classy. They're egging you on. Meanwhile, Cheryl's mother had been suspicious of him for years after watching him grow up in a small town with magnanimous praise for his sporting prowess. Type O blood was collected from the crime scene as well as semen. We'll circle back to this later.
Do we have to?
Kinda, yeah.
Okay.
From that point forward, it seems like in hindsight, the levees just completely gave way. So prepare yourselves for that. On November 27th, following a visit with his college friend Tim Rossi in Tacoma, Randall Woodfield attacked 2 more people. This time, it was Tim's ex-girlfriend, Darcy Renee Fix, 22, and her new boyfriend, Douglas Keith Altig, 24. Both were found dead from gunshot wounds inflicted by a .32 caliber revolver. Darcy had also been raped, presumably while the 2 were still alive.
I'm sorry, guys. My face does really weird things, and I'm sorry. Weird things, uncomfortable laughter. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything. The athletic tape that they had been bound with was noteworthy but untraceable. As with the previous murder, Randy's name came up in this investigation as well. But authorities had little to tie him to the crime. It also never occurred to law enforcement that the crime might be tied to the criminal gaining notoriety as the I-5 bandit.
Right. I mean, why would it?
Just a few short days before Christmas, on December 21st, Randy struck again. He attacked a 25-year-old woman named Kim Meehan in a restroom at the restaurant where she worked in Seattle, Washington. She survived, though Woodfield did sexually assault her.
Oh my gosh, this must have been just such a scary time. You literally don't know if you just finish your shift at work and something horrific happens. Like,
Yeah.
ugh,
No, thank you.
no.
Early in the new year, on January 11th of 1981, Randall Woodfield, seemingly fresh from his holiday hiatus, commit another robbery in Sutherland at a local business, the Central Market. Shocked into disbelief, 20-year-old Susie Bennett hesitated when he told her to give him the money in the register. Randall fired a shot into her shoulder. Totally reasonable. She was injured, to be sure, but thankfully not fatally so. Thankfully, this bullet actually resulted in a very well-positioned through and through, and it was retrieved at the scene. I don't want to pick up that bullet.
No.
Sorry. Ouch. Oh, jeez. No. Though there were no fingerprints, this marked a turning point in the case, as it was the first of the I-5 bandits' crimes where an eyewitness was injured by gunshot. Also notable, a VW Bug was spotted by a jogger in the area, and this became another potential new tip.
So finally we're getting somewhere, although someone had to get hurt in the process. But thankfully she was okay. I
Yeah.
mean, she survived. I don't know how okay she was after,
Right.
but
Just as you might suspect, law enforcement was beginning to collect tips that would point them in the right direction, so Randall pivoted. On January 14th, 3 days later, a crime completely disparate from those known to be linked to the I-5 bandit occurred. In Corvallis, Mary Sue, 10, and Megan, 8, were alone in their home for a brief period. Just 30 minutes was typical when their mother would make a trip to the gym. In fact, their mother had left the family home just 10 minutes prior to Randall Woodfield appearing at their door. He claimed to be having car trouble and asked to use the phone before muscling his way past the small girl into the home. Mary Sue was immediately on edge and extremely uncomfortable with the situation. Checks out. Having played at making 2 separate phone calls, Randall insisted on remaining in the home despite her insistence that he leave because they weren't supposed to let strangers into their home. At this point, he brandished his gun before sexually assaulting the 2 girls, even as they cried and begged him to leave.
it's heartbreaking.
I don't like it.
No.
This crime was not initially connected to the string of crimes committed by Randall, as the previous crimes seemed to have been at least partially motivated by robbery and also targeted much older victims.
This guy's all over the place.
January 18th of 1981, the Salem, Oregon 911 dispatch received a strange call on what had been an otherwise quiet evening. At 9:54 p.m., the call came in. "We've been shot. Please help us." Sherry Lynn Hull and Beth Wilmot, both 20-year-old janitorial employees cleaning after hours at a Transamerica office in Kaiser, Oregon, were accosted by Woodfield. He sexually assaulted both women before shooting them each in the head. While Sherry died of her injuries, Beth survived. And it's truly one of the more remarkable things that I've ever heard about in connection with any true crime case. The dispatcher sprang into action to get an emergency trace, but someone listening in on the call at the dispatch center actually recognized the location that the caller described as near the fun machine.
Oh,
They would have been shit out of luck with
not
me.
specific at all.
Yeah. It was on the outskirts of Kaiser near Salem. The call was coming in from the Transamerica Title building. He got the call patched into the Salem police, dispatched paramedics from the fire department, as well as an ambulance. Beth Wilmot said she had been shot in the head. She described the attacker as a white male, possibly around 27 years of age. She was less certain about height and couldn't be more specific than somewhere between 5'9" to 6 foot. Beth sobbed in disoriented grief throughout the call. He shot 5 times, she said. At that moment, Sherry was breathing very hard, which is incredible in light of the fact that she had been shot 3 times.
Yeah, I literally can't even believe Beth is talking.
I know.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Beth also mentioned that Sherry had a green Bronco, and she'd left it running. Later, it would be discovered that she had mistaken the color in her horrified state of pain, but understandable, one might say.
That's absolutely understandable. You can't change my mind about it. Don't argue.
A police officer passing through the surrounding area on his way to the scene had received the description of the attacker. On a street corner just over a mile from the scene, he saw a man that seemed to match the somewhat vague description of the perpetrator. He was beginning to think he might slow down to evaluate further when dispatch reported that the shooter might still be inside the building. So he picked his pace back up, code 3. He never forgot the stony face of the man with the dark eyes, almost daring him to approach. Maybe if it hadn't been for those eyes, he would have brushed the brief and seemingly innocuous encounter off.
He saw evil.
Right? After all, 1.2 miles is a good stretch of ground for any man to cover in such a short time following any crime. But on the other hand, adrenaline is a hell of a drug. Mm-hmm. Surely only a young and incredibly physically fit man would have accomplished such a feat. He'd truly be an athletic specimen.
Or on steroids.
There's that. These were amongst a series of racing thoughts that would haunt Deputy Bernie Pappenfuss, which is the most precious name.
It is. I like it.
While he waited in the emergency room, as well as for years following the crime. Every available officer in Marion County reported to the scene that evening. Both Sherry and Beth were rushed to Salem Memorial Hospital. Sherry was comatose with 3 bullet wounds to the head and extremely faint vital signs. It was commented on by multiple people that interacted with her that night that Beth remained shockingly coherent throughout the ordeal.
Wow.
Beth said she played dead until she thought it might be safe to try to get help.
Oh my God, I can't. I just got like full body chills. Oh.
Yeah. She crawled to a phone in an adjacent office and called 911. When questioned in the ambulance, she stated that neither had been sexually assaulted. But forensic testing of swabs would later reveal that she had, in fact, been assaulted orally. Her attacker forcing her to swallow his semen. Beth did not recall the details of the sexual assault until much later. And when she did remember, aided by hypnosis, she would wish that she hadn't.
That is just so incredibly sad.
Her friend Sherry did in fact pass away at the hospital at 1:20 a.m. following the attack. No witness statement could be taken as she never regained consciousness. First responders reported that based on the amount of blood that she had lost, and along with the fact that small portions of her brain tissue were visible due to her injuries, they were doubtful even when they arrived that she would make it. Her death would certainly fuel the fury to find justice in this senseless crime. Mm-hmm. Beth Wilmot was in critical condition and had what looked to be a .32 caliber slug that rested in her dark hair. The doctors caring for her were shocked because it had not penetrated her skull.
Wow.
It's entirely possible that her unique skull density protected her from what otherwise might have been a fatal shot. Shockingly, x-rays would reveal that it wasn't a solitary bullet that had been fired at her. They would also find one buried into her scalp, just in front of her ear, and that hadn't penetrated the skull either. So she was incredibly lucky to be alive.
Wow, that's just so insane. Oh my goodness.
On February 3rd, the disjointed spree along the I-5 corridor continued. Donna Lee Eckerd, 37, and her daughter, Janelle Charlotte Jarvis, were both found having been shot to death in their Shasta County home. Donna, the mother, was bound, and then before killing them, Randy ordered the teenage victim to strip naked. He then shot her in the head multiple times in front of her mother. He killed Donna before raping Janelle's dead body. The horrific scene was discovered just minutes after Randy left by the younger 12-year-old sister when she returned home.
That's an absolutely horrific scene for that little baby to find.
I don't like it.
Ugh, my voice is shaky.
I know. But it gets worse. Yay! This latest crime was after having assaulted another woman at gunpoint in Reading at some point earlier on that same day. The first unnamed woman did survive, unlike the mother and daughter in Shasta.
He seems to be escalating, as they say in the biz.
Just a bit. Unbeknownst to Randall, the dominoes, it's making up words.
It happens.
The dominoes would begin to fall on February 15th when he raped and shot Julianne Reitz, 18, to death in her Beaverton, Oregon home around 4 a.m. She was killed only 2 days after her 18th birthday. She was an acquaintance of Woodfield's through his job as a bouncer at the Faucet. Let's pause and rewind to talk about Valentine's Day, 1981.
Valentine's Day sounds good, right? Right?
Yeah, not this year. On Valentine's Day, Randall had been out with his female platonic friend Dixie during the day. That evening, Woodfield had planned a Valentine's Day party at the Marriott Hotel downtown. Dixie said she had met with him around 11 to grab lunch before doing some shopping in Milwaukee at the Blade men's clothing store, picking out an outfit for him to wear to the party he was planning on hosting. The party was decidedly not well attended, and after he'd gone out and bought an outfit for it, I'm sure he was super pissed.
Who throws a party on Valentine's Day?
It's kind of a couple holiday, not
Yeah,
like a party holiday usually. I don't know. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. Woodfield drove to Julie's Beaverton home, arriving at around 2 a.m. So technically it was the 15th at this point if you're one to split hairs. Police investigating the scene determined that Julie had enjoyed a glass of wine and had also begun to prepare coffee, presumably for a drunken, self-pitying Randall. A package of instant coffee was discovered on the kitchen counter, and water in a kettle had been left to completely boil away.
Oh.
Randall slipped when meeting with his father after his arrest. He said he'd been out with a girl that night in Beaverton who had been murdered. He said she'd been at a Valentine's Day party and he'd seen her after that. So this was Randy's first admission of having been with Julie that night.
Well, man, I'm glad he opened his big, ugly, stupid mouth.
Tell me how you really feel. They would also soon discover that he had a very fancy, rare gun with ammo that even large ammunition retailers may only sell 1 or 2 boxes of in any given year. DA Van Dyke called around to local shops to confirm this, which, while only circumstantial evidence, is, I think, pretty compelling. In the summer of 1981, Woodfield was tried in Oregon's capital, Salem, for the murder of Sherry Hull, as well as charges for sodomy and attempted murder of Beth Wilmot. Wilmot testified against him in the trial and was key to the prosecution's case. Chris Van Dyke, yes, that Van Dyke, he was the son of actor Dick Van Dyke and the Marion County, Oregon District Attorney at the time, and prosecuted the case.
No shit.
Yeah. I know, I definitely tried to fact check that one. I didn't believe it either. He would later characterize Woodfield as the coldest, most detached defendant I've ever seen.
Ooh, chills. Like
Same.
that guy that saw evil in his eyes.
Right.
Oh,
It's weird how everyone meets him and doesn't like him.
yeah.
On making up
It's not
dates
January,
too.
no.
Yeah. June 26, 1981, after 3.5 hours of deliberation, Woodfield was convicted on all counts and sentenced to life in prison plus 90 years. Which might be where we'd usually end things, but somehow there's more. In October 1981, a second trial was held in which Woodfield received sodomy and weapons charges tied to one of the attacks in a restaurant bathroom. Prior to this trial, his counsel attempted to move the trial from the Willamette Valley. His counsel felt that, owing to the publicity that the case had received, Woodfield would not get a fair trial there. Probably nowhere along the I-5. The judge in the case denied this request, along with a request to hypnotize a prosecution witness in an effort to determine if that witness had been influenced by the media coverage.
Is that a thing? That seems really bizarre to me.
I don't think that's a thing. Woodfield was convicted by the jury and had an additional 35 years added to his life sentence. So
Good.
all he has to do is live his whole life and then another 125 years. And he'll be scot-free. Despite the apparent links with countless other crimes and homicides, Woodfield would not be prosecuted for the majority of the crimes he was believed to have committed. Unable to afford multiple trials, the state of Oregon was satisfied with Woodfield's existing life and then some sentence. Randall Woodfield would serve his sentences at the Oregon State Penitentiary in Salem.
Great. Bye, Randall.
Still, drama with this guy, though.
Goodness, of course.
In October 1983, he was injured by a fellow inmate during a prison disturbance. Then, in 1987, Woodfield filed a $12 million libel suit against author Anne Rule, a famous true crime writer that wrote The I-5 Killer. The account of Woodfield's life and crime spree became a best-selling book in 1984. The federal court in Oregon dismissed the lawsuit in January 1988, citing that the statute of limitations on such a lawsuit had expired. But also, it can hardly be considered libel if you've been convicted of the crimes, Randy.
Yeah, seriously, the nerve. Like, you took people's lives away.
Yeah.
You don't get the right to complain about books written about you, especially if they're all true.
Yeah, no editorializing. By 1990, after the discovery of more victims, Woodfield was suspected in as many as 44 homicides. In 2001 and 2006, DNA testing linked Woodfield to 2 additional murders in Oregon that occurred from 1980 and 1981. But he's been nearly as busy during his time in the penitentiary as he was as a free man. Woodfield has been married 3 times and divorced twice, at least last I checked.
Ew. Okay, can we all agree to stop marrying rightfully convicted killers? That'd be
I'll
great.
sign that petition.
Yeah.
We'll pass
Pass
it around.
yeah.
after this. Okay. That'd be great. Letters that Randall wrote from prison were sold online as a collection titled The Serial Killer Letters. In one of these letters, he wrote to journalist Jennifer Furio that he had a rare B-neg blood type. Such nonsense. It hurts me to say it out loud. But this was likely before it was well known by the public or law enforcement that type O can be present in both A and B. I don't really understand that, but he was wrong. He's a liar.
He was wrong.
Science called bullshit. Jennifer Furio's book was published in 1988, years prior to the new evidence that was discovered when DNA was used to conclusively tie Randall to multiple additional crimes.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a win.
Yeah.
He even joined MySpace in 2006.
Ooh.
And seemingly confessed when he wrote the following: I'm Randy, I'm 55, I spend the remainder of my days in prison because I have committed a murder along with many other crimes. I once tried out for the Green Bay Packers. The only reason I didn't make it is because the skills I had to offer they didn't need at the time.
Right, okay, Randall. Oh my God.
Is flashing a skill?
Yeah, they were like, we don't need that skill.
Yeah.
We don't. Oh my gosh. Well,
All right. We're going to do a little tarot reading. It's a thing we do.
Yeah. So we do a tarot reading at the end of every episode to get a little insight into the case.
Yeah. We were told there would be riots if we didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, what if we don't have enough time?
We have plenty of
Yeah.
time. We always have time for tarot, right?
Turns out people were right.
Okay, so I shuffled them a bunch before we started, and I think this is good. Okay. Randall, what are you going to give us? We never know how this is going to go, so.
Okay. Hopefully it's not something that says sunshine and rainbows. I think. Does that feel right to you?
The Queen of Cups in reverse. Can everybody see?
Okay.
She looks like a mermaid sitting on a throne on the beach.
Okay. So our Queen of Cups keywords are creativity, fertility, strong emotion, change, and intuition. I feel like, is it maybe the card's for someone else?
Is it for us?
Usually the Queen of Cups appears seated on a throne, wearing a crown and lovely garments. A beautiful woman, she exudes warmth, sensuality, and maternal caring. In a reading, the queen may signify an actual person. When she does, it's usually a mature woman who's creative, nurturing, changeable, intuitive, devoted as a wife or mother, and highly emotional. She is sometimes a drama queen. Oh my gosh, I think this is just all of the women that were in Randall's life.
That's kind of what I was thinking, yeah. But it is in reverse, so
Yeah.
let's see
All
what
right,
it says.
I'm going to read the reverse. When the queen appears reversed, you're letting your emotions rule you, and you can't see a situation clearly. Okay, it's starting to make a little bit more sense. Either you're overly idealistic or you're shutting yourself off out of fear. If this card signifies a real person, she's probably manipulative, undependable, indiscriminate, or hypersensitive.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in tarot, it doesn't necessarily have to be male, female. Like, this could represent.
Oh, no, yeah.
This could represent Randall. He was highly idealistic.
It definitely, it doesn't have to be written in as he, she.
Yeah.
We've talked about that before. The gender that's indicated on the card, that's kind of old school.
Yeah. It's more like a vibe.
Yeah. This card may also show a situation is unstable. Okay, well, the one I got right away, this is actually a word that I used at one point to describe him.
Oh, okay.
Indiscriminate.
Yeah. Ooh, creepy.
Manipulative, definitely. Hypersensitive. Really makes him cry, you guys, when you tell him that you don't want him to whip it
I
out.
was just going to say that, yeah. Was there any extra? Sometimes there's extra little things in here.
There is. I skipped it.
Oh, I was just wondering
Yeah.
if they...
No, I'm going to read it now.
Oh, okay.
You called me out.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
The Queen of Cups is like a body of water, ever flowing onward as she brings inspiration and feeling to the world. Though she may sometimes seem as mutable as the sea itself, she is ever true to her heart.
I really like that kind of relating to the victims, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
All right. Well,
Did anyone else notice anything in the card? That we always ask this, but we don't get a response.
it's weird how nobody answers.
Did anyone else feel like there was a relatable part with the card and the story? Anybody? Okay. I
Shutting
always like to
yourself
ask,
out.
just in case.
Yeah. That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. We will post this on social media, so if you follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, we could probably do a TikTok with it too. Why not?
Yeah.
We're at P&W Haunts and Homicides on everything but Twitter. What's Twitter?
PNWH&H. They
Yeah.
were like, that's too many characters.
But if you do find our link tree, everything is easy
Yeah.
to find. So yeah, we'll post that. You guys can check it out.
Yay.
And
Oh, wait, we're still recording. We have
Yeah.
to do the outro.
I know, I'm giving you the eyes.
Okay.
All right, are you ready?
Oh, that's why your eyes look like that. Okay,
All
okay.
right, ready?
That makes a lot more sense. Okay.
Have a creepy ass day. See you next Tuesday. That's when our episodes come out. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
So, for all of you that are listening, if you have any true crime or paranormal stories that you want us to share, maybe with the whole Pacific Northwest.
Yes, we would love to read them on the pod.
Yes, we will read them out loud.
Not just in our heads.
Yes. They don't have to be from the Pacific Northwest if you would like to share. Email us at pnwhauntsandhomicides@gmail.com. It's all spelled out, no special characters. Super duper easy peasy.
Follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Same thing as the email at PNW Haunts and Homicides, all spelled out, no special characters. Please also rate and review us on whatever platform you're listening to, and check out our stories on social media because our meme game is hot.
Agreed.
And if you agree, like Caitlin, you can also find us on Patreon and support the show.
Bitchin'.
We get claps. We've never gotten claps.
I always hear it in my head, though, so.
Yeah. They're adoring us.